Right here is my 2018 Shelby GT350. In today's video, we are going to be going over the differences between a Gen 1 and Gen 2 Voodoo motor. And then we are also going to be learning how to identify in literally under 30 seconds if you have a Gen 1 or Gen 2 motor on your Shelby GT350. So let's get into it. So the Shelby GT350 motor is known to consume a lot of oil. So the Gen 1 motors, it is regular to consume about a quart per 500 miles of driving. So sometimes it'll be a little bit less, but once you do start racking up miles on your car, you are going to be seeing about 1 quart of consumption or more per 500 miles. So it depends how you're driving the car, and the oil consumption is normal. However, Ford ran into many issues with this because the owners who are buying this car and some of the people did not know that it consumes oil because it's a racing motor, and they didn't really take care of the car well. So what they had done is they just ran it dry, ended up blowing up the motor and getting a Gen 2 motor put in their GT350, which doesn't consume as much oil. So oil consumption for this motor, if it's a lot of oil that it's consuming, like 3 quarts per 500 miles, or maybe even upwards of 2 quarts per 500 miles, then your Voodoo motor has an issue. But if it's like 1.5, it really isn't a problem, even if you're driving it pretty hard. So you guys may be asking, why is it that some of the Gen 1 motors consume a lot of oil? So the issue, I believe that it's the piston rings, and that's what Ford believed too, and that's what Ford ended up changing for the Gen 2 motor. So the Gen 2 motor now has, they claim, a reinforced block, which is from a GT500. I'm not sure if it's from a 5.2 liter Predator motor, but it is a reinforced, stronger block that is shown to withstand up to 12 PSI of boost. So then in addition to that, the piston rings have been changed. So the piston rings are stronger now, and the piston rings, what happened with the Gen 1 motors, which I have, is the piston rings, when they gap, they're slowly getting damaged, and the bigger the gap is on the piston rings, the more blow by and the more oil consumption that you're going to get with your GT350. So you're going to get a lot of oil consuming due to the piston rings. So the pistons and piston rings have been changed on the new GT350. So in addition to those changes, the Shelby GT350 Gen 2 motor also has longer head bolts from a Coyote Gen 1 motor. It has more cylinder material surrounding for the water jackets. Then they also added a cast brace on the intake side of the engine. So those are the other changes. And then they also have valve train changes. Yes, I'm reading them off my phone. I couldn't remember all of these, but it has a GT350R timing chains. Then it also has your GT350R lash adjusters and your GT350R cam covers and your VCT mechanisms from the GT350R. So the Gen 2 motor, there's no GT350 or GT350R motor difference. It's all GT350R motors for the Gen 2s. The Gen 1s, there's the 350 or 350R motor. So now that I got that out of the way, let's go ahead and pop the hood, and then we'll discuss how to identify if you have a Gen 1 or Gen 2 motor. All right, so now for the really cool part, now that we got the engine popped, now I'm going to be showing you guys how to tell when your engine was made. So you can tell the month, year, and day that your engine was made, and then you can also tell if you have a Gen 1 or a Gen 2 motor. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk over to our driver's side of the car, and then this tube that goes here, I have oil separators, so my tube looks like this, but it may look different for other people. So you're just going to simply pull up on this thing right here, pop this off, twist it up, twist it out of the way, and then this cover right over here, as you can see, you're going to pull this up a little bit like that, and it's going to pop right off. And then once you pop the cover off, you'll notice right down over there you have a production sticker for it. So I actually had to take a picture of it because it was too couldn't zoom in with my GoPro, but if you look at it, this is a sticker. It's located right down over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to start reading it. So the HA at the beginning means that it's not a Gen 2. If you have KA at the beginning, that means it's a Gen 2 motor. 557 means it's a GT350 motor. If you have a Gen 1 motor that says HA555, that would mean you have a Gen 1 GT350R motor. So the 557 means GT350, 555 means GT350R, and then AA is if they made any changes on the engine, it would be AB, but I don't think the AAs have changed at all for the Gen 1s or Gen 2 motors. So then if you zoom in right over here, the first two digits of the lower part right over here, 17 means that the engine was produced in 2017. On the three digits following the 17, we have 209 is going to relate to our Julian date calendar. So if you look at the Julian date calendar, if you have a 2015, 17, 18, and 19, it will be on the perpetual years. And if you have a 16 or 2020 model, it will be on the leap year calendar on this side right over here. So you guys can take a look at it right over here. I'm not sure if it's going to focus in, but I'll drop the link for this calendar down below in the description. So now my number was 206, so if I find 206 right over here on this calendar, 206 lines up to be July 25th of 2017 that my motor was produced. So I'll drop this calendar down below in the comment section. You just look to see what that number falls in, what category. So mine was made on July 26th of 2017, which is pretty cool to know. So I have a Gen 1 motor because it says HA at the beginning of the letter, and then 557 means it's the GT350. And then as you can see, this is an example of a Gen 2 motor. It says KA and then 555. So it's GT350R motors for all the Gen 2 motors. So it's always going to say 555. And then KA is significant of Gen 2. And then another example is like what I just showed you of the other one, which is HA557 Gen 1 motor for GT350. So let me know if that information was helpful to you guys. I spent so much time researching it to see what the difference was with the motors. Some people do say that the signature plaque right over here, if you have two signatures like I do, as you can see I have two signatures, that means that you have a Gen 1 motor and Gen 2 that there's only one signature. However, that is false. I've seen Gen 2 motors that have two signatures on it, so do not go by that. Just simply take off this cover right over here, which is super easy, and just look at your sticker down below, and then look at the calendar linked down below in the description, and match it up and see when your engine was produced too. So it's super easy to find it out. Let me know if you guys found this video helpful. I have a Gen 1 motor. I also have warranty for a super long time, so maybe I will get a Gen 2 if this starts consuming a lot of oil. Right now it's doing like 1 to 1.5 quarts per 500 miles, and that's me really spiritedly driving the car, pushing the car how it's meant to be driven, just perfectly normal for a racing engine. Any racing engine consumes oil, so just be aware of that. If your engine's consuming that much oil, you could push for a Gen 2 motor if you're consuming more than a quart per 500 miles, but I don't think it's needed unless your oil consumption is super excessive, and that would most likely mean that your piston rings are screwed up and the piston rings have been damaged on your Gen 1. So that's seems like the weak point on the Gen 1 motors is the pistons or the piston rings. That's what it comes down to, piston rings getting damaged. That's what ends up happening to the GT350 motors. That's the full explanation of it, Gen 1 versus Gen 2. Let me know if you guys have any additional questions down below in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Help me reach 1,000 subscribers. I really appreciate every single one of you guys. So with that said, I'll see all of you guys in the next video. Peace.